session about broadening participation. Our first speaker is Wu-chang from Portland State.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about CyberPDX, a camp for broadening participation in cybersecurity that we've been working on for about the last 4 years, trying to fine-tune. So I'll start with this quote from President Obama, then President Obama. And it's one of the great paradoxes of our time that the very technologies that empower us to do great good can also be used to undermine us and inflict great harm. And this is what we start the camp with, and we like to tell our campers, more tech, more problems. And so it's important to realize that these problems happen in the context of the humanities. Everything we do is embedded in how technology interfaces with humans. And this will be important when we talk about the design of this camp. So how do you begin to solve these problems? Well, we're educators. We learn about them, and then we teach them. And this is what Gen Cyber is about. And so this is a joint effort with NSF and NSA to try and develop the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. But when we started doing Gen Cyber and we started doing this camp, the question you have to ask yourself is, what exactly is a cybersecurity professional and what does that look like? And it turns out there is no one foil that represents, yes, that's a cybersecurity professional, and that one isn't. And so we felt that this was a bit of an enigma. And so you look around, and really in cybersecurity, you can play any number of roles. For example, you could be that cryptographer, like Shafi Goldwasser and Sylvia Macaulay, or you could actually be a politician. You could be the Ron Wyden of the world, fighting against government surveillance. You could be a research director, like Deborah Frank, or you could be a journalist, like Brian Krebs or Glenn Greenwald. You could be a bug hunter, like Natalie Solanovich and Tavis Ormandy. But you could be a filmmaker, like Alex Gibney, making an impact with film. Whoops, skipped one. You could be a systems developer, like Joanna Rapaska or Jesse Fuzell. But you could also be a television producer, like Sam Esmile. How many of you watch Mr. Robot? Oh, several. Well, there would be more in this audience, but oh well, okay. You could be the professor, like Laurie Kramer. You could be a cartoonist, like Randall Monroe. Right? Some of the most influential stuff ended up being an XKCD cartoon. You could be a cryptanalyst, like Juanita Moody in the Cryptological Honor. Or you could be someone like John Oliver, right? A comedian who knows a lot about the cybers. You could be a podcaster like Patrick Gray and Adam Boileau, who run this awesome podcast in security that I highly recommend if you want to listen to. Or you could be a lawyer like Susan Hennessy. Finally, you could even be an author of like young adult fiction. And for those of you who were here last year, I was up here talking about this, and I'll get to this a little bit later because it's all linked up. Okay. So with this in mind, how do you offer a camp that speaks to all of these diverse roles? What do you teach, and how do you teach it? So this is what our sort of shot at it looks like, CyberPDX. It's a 1-week residential camp for introducing cybersecurity to both high school students and their teachers. We want this thing to eventually go into the high schools, and you need to reach both. Okay, so what does CyberPDX do? Well, it has a curriculum that integrates both technology and the liberal arts to highlight the breadth of the field. Highlight all the different ways you can impact this field. It focuses on collaborative, cooperative peer learning and not competition. We tried it as a really competitive camp. Didn't work so well for us. It features role-playing exercises to allow each student in the camp to practice a wide variety of roles that they could play in cybersecurity, not just a single one. It features problem-based learning that involves creative, intrinsically motivating activities. This is a picture from last year, if those remember what that context was. It uses multimodal instruction to engage diverse learning styles. Every kid in the room learns differently, so we try and reach the different sort of learners with where they're at. We heavily use scaffolded exercises in order to cultivate confidence and confidence in campers, so that they always feel like they're able to make progress. We stress inclusive targeting of our students, and not only students who are underrepresented in cybersecurity, we actually target those who are underrepresented in college themselves. So we're looking for first-generation college students when we invite them to our camp. And finally, it features a concurrent teacher camp, and the teachers will do curriculum projects based on the content that we have provided, and then we'll put those projects in a public repository for use for other high schools to use. And here's a screenshot of some of the projects that came out of it, and a photo of all of our teachers from last month. We last ran this last month. Okay, so what is the content that we teach them? There are 4 threads: cryptography and security, programming, filmmaking, and cyber policy. So I'll go through each one of those. In terms of cryptography and security, we teach them how basic ciphers work and how each one can eventually be broken. And then they also learn modern security tools and techniques in the context that they're used. And this was described last year, so I'm not going to really belabor the cryptography and security parts of this. So it involves 5 content modules and a film. So we go through the history of cryptography and security and its impact on the world. We teach them how encoding is done, how simple ciphers work. We show them the imitation game, and we teach them sort of how the Enigma works and how it eventually was broken. That transitions to modern ciphers, so public key, private key cryptography. And then we talk about protocols and the man-in-the-middle attack, which brings them up to sort of current events. The activity that we have them do is a scaffolded CTF that eventually leads to an urban race. And all of this is woven into the plot of the Divergent short story, The Traitor by Veronica Roth. And it follows Spore as a penetration tester attempting to compromise the erudite system. So if you guys know that plot, he's basically trying to stop a plot of the erudite to wipe out the abnegation clan. I don't know if any of you have seen that movie, but it matters to a lot of our high school kids. They know it, so that's why we did it. Okay. And so campers are practicing throughout the week decrypting messages while learning about modern security issues and tools, because what they're doing is they're retracing Flore's exploit. And he's quite a good penetration tester, so he's using all the tricks in the book. Okay. And there's a little Twitter bot. So Flore is written as a Twitter bot that the campers interact with, so they feel like they're actually in the plot. Okay. The other thread is the programming thread, and we assume 0 knowledge, 0 experience in programming. And so we explicitly discourage people who have taken a coding class to enter this camp, because then a quarter of the content is basically useless to them. And that's not a very good experience. So we show them different ways of developing software, and sort of to show them the difficulty in writing correct software, and then what happens when we assume software is correct when it actually isn't. That's actually the more fatal mistake that people are making these days. So we want them to sort of viscerally feel that when we talk to them about this. So the programming module has content modules where we start them off with Blockly. And this is sort of best practices when you're teaching beginners programming. You just forget the syntax, forget the tools and the SDKs that you have to install. Just start with the blocks. Get them understanding the programming concepts. So commands, loops, conditionals, and functions in the context of Blockly. And then we transition them to text-based graphical programming, and we use Python with Turtle Graphics on this site, trinket.io. So again, they don't have to install anything, and they have a immediate graphical sort of feedback as to what the program is doing. And within this text-based paradigm, we teach them, again, variables, arithmetic, data types, and data structures. And then we transition them to conditionals, loops, and functions in the context of Python itself. So they're transitioned eventually to a real programming environment. And then we show them at the very end the programs that were used to encrypt and decrypt the messages in the cryptography thread. So we try and weave threads together whenever we can, and that's the way we weave the programming with the crypto. And then we have them do a final project showcase where they go and they walk through their Python program that they've written. Because it's really important for us that every camper understands every single line of code that they've written. And so this is their way of showing us, yes, that they own their program, they understand it. Okay, so we also feature a film thread. And so we show them the influence that movies have had on cybersecurity awareness and policy, and techniques for them themselves to create impactful films. So in terms of what we teach them in the film thread, we teach them about camera angle and its effects, its affective response on the audience, camera movement and its effects when you're filming, camera shot size and its effects. And so there's all these well-known techniques in film that we want the campers to know when they actually are tasked to create their own film. Like, how can you be the Alex Gibney, creating this content that is hugely impactful? We also show them specific films. War games and imitation games are two, but we've used other films in the past. We show them those techniques in the context of these films, and then we show them the impact that a film like War Games had, not only on nuclear arms treaties, but also on CFAA, sort of the development of the CFAA. We teach them the history of that just to show them, yeah, you could be a filmmaker and have way more impact on society than any of us in this room, right? So those are the ideas that we want to leave them with. And then they have a daily film assignment where they're asked to incorporate themes of the camp in short films. And they edit and upload these via YouTube so that they don't have to install video editing software. We explicitly discourage schools from bringing their own video editing, like fancy video editing stuff, just to sort of unfair. I mean, it's not a competitive thing, but it's still, we sort of want to keep the playing field level. And then they have a final film that's tied to the cyber policy thread, which I'll describe next. And that is actually shown at the camp showcase to everybody. And we invite their parents and everything to this event to see what they've done. Okay, so the last thread, but not least, is the cyber policy thread. We have them look at the social and legal problems brought about by technology and the importance of having policymakers that understand technology and vice versa. How we really need technology people to understand policy, and the lack of that communication or that shared expertise is causing lots of problems, actually. And then we force them to do this collaborative problem-solving exercise to address these policy issues. So this is the screen generation, the online generation. So we have them drop their phones, their tablets, and technology, and actually try and negotiate face-to-face with a whole bunch of other kids on these important issues. Okay, so the content modules in cyber policy, we always start with constitutional law, and then we talk about the topics of the current topics that we're interested in them learning. So last year was about surveillance programs and security versus privacy. This year is about spear phishing and fake news and election infrastructure. And then what we do after that, we give them a role dossier. And so the role dossier is they get a single dossier where they are learning the position of a stakeholder in whatever cyber policy debate is part of the camp. So you could be given the dossier of the head of the NSA, an ACLU lawyer, telecom CEO, social media CEO, journalist, director of national intelligence, or the White House. And you have to learn what those constituencies they're trying to advocate for, to really figure out, like when you're negotiating amongst all these folks, what things you need to protect as sort of your role. And then we have them go through the student mixer. Because they've learned one role really well, we want them to learn the other roles really well too, because when you're sitting at the table, you need to know what everybody needs and what everybody is looking for to negotiate properly. So they mix with each other to learn the roles of the different positions of all stakeholders. And then the real meat of this happens, this Cyber Summit, and it's modeled after the 2015 Cyber Summit that Obama had in Stanford, where we have these 9 rounds of alternating discussions where they flip back and forth between caucusing with fellow students who have the exact same role as them, and then going to a negotiating table where they're trying to craft acceptable policy amongst the rest of the stakeholders. And the idea is that at the end of these 9 rounds, you have a policy that you can describe that addresses that particular issue that we're trying to solve. And then what we do is, camp-wide, we go through all the different policies that groups have come up with, and we sort of analyze the similarities and the differences. Where are people at? What differ between table to table about their agreement? And of course, there's no right or wrong answer to these policy debates. It's just an interesting discussion to see what positions people eventually ended up with. And finally, after this, we have this dramatic pivot where we throw at them a crisis situation that's modeled after the Cyber 912 competitions. And so you could consider this Cyber 912 competition as a CTF for cyber policy people. It's basically a competition that talks about how you can develop effective policies in response to something into a Cyber 911. So that's why it's called Cyber 912. So students synthesize what they've learned into a 5-minute film that addresses this crisis. And so last year we used Pokemon Go and a zero-day exploit. So we fictionalized Pokemon Go being used by terrorists and criminals for all their nefarious actions. And then we fictionalized the fact that the NSA, they probably did have one, but they had a zero-day exploit on this thing, and they were using it to surveil everybody. Well, then, ostensibly to just get at the terrorists and the criminals. And we asked them, what is the policy for zero-day exploits, and whether or not they should be revealed by the NSA or simply used? And this is a debate that's still being settled, right? We have no policy as to what is okay to be hoarded. Right now, I think it's everything, as far as I can tell. We'll hoard everything and then reveal only when shadow brokers get a copy of it. So this is the kind of stuff that we asked them to do. What should be a policy for zero-day exploits? This year we did a nation-state attack on the 2018 election. And what are some policies that we might have to sort of deter this kind of thing? Okay, so in terms of evaluation, so we've offered this the last 4 years, but it's only in the last 2 years that we transitioned it over to a Gen Cyber Camp. And we offer it to rising sophomores. So these kids are young. And the reason why we get them as rising sophomores is because we want them to go back into their high schools and spread the cyber, or to be able to help the teachers who have come with them offer programs. Because then they'll have like 6 people in the classroom who can actually speak to some of the issues that need to be spoken to. So 2016 and 2017, about 60 students, more than 60% female, more than around 40% minority, and 20 teachers each. And so these are our ratings for the last 2 years in terms of how much they learned, how much they enjoyed about learning, the projects and the activities in this camp, whether or not they were glad to attend this camp, and you can see the numbers are pretty high. They quite enjoyed the camp. So 1 to 5 being strongly agreed. And then the next part of the evaluation is comparison to the Gen Cyber camp averages. And for this, we only have last year's Gen Cyber data. We don't have this year's yet. But the metric that they're using, or one of the best metrics to use, I really agree with this metric, is your pre-camp intent to pursue a cyber degree, a cyber-related degree, and your post-camp intent. And you can see, one of the things that you'll see is that our pre-camp intent is much lower than the Gen Cyber average, and that's part of our recruiting. We're getting people, we're telling our teachers to recruit students who they think would never consider a career in this. And that's where you're getting the first-generation students, underrepresented minorities, and that's where our numbers are strong. We don't mandate that, but we just suggest that the camp is intended for those. And you can see the change in the pre-camp and the post-camp is quite high, almost a full point on these kids. Oh. And my last one, which I did not include here, is if you are interested, the campsite is here, including a repository for the teachers' projects, but the teacher projects are from last year. We're still going to add this year's one. And then the link to the current year's camp is off of that as well. So with that, taking some questions.
So you had, for every 3 students, there was an instructor, teacher. The funding for all of this is pretty good right now, so that you can have that many teachers. How would this be affected if you had fewer instructors?
Fewer teachers or fewer?
Teaching people with the students. The 3 students to 1 teacher is a fabulous ratio. Yeah. And in reality, education usually doesn't get that. So what if things become more aligned with kinds of ratios that are less well funded?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things that Gen Cyber mandates is that this camp is free, so that's why they give generously. And it would really hurt us if it wasn't free, because then you would get the people that don't really need. I mean, yeah, definitely you don't get the underrepresented socioeconomically. You won't get those folks if it had to be a self-funded thing. If NSA and NSF don't invest in that, it's not going to happen.
What about the student-teacher ratio?
We have thought about that. So the structure of our camp, we could increase that ratio. The structure of our camp is a liberal arts teacher and a math/technology teacher. And so you want to send 2 teachers back to that school that have both, because that was the whole philosophy of the camp, is that you need both, and you need them to collaborate to create integrated curriculum that will produce people that have a broader view of it, that aren't stuck in the bits. So that's, I mean, we could ask for teams of 12, but then you would need, at that school, you would need to figure out how can I get 12 kids for these 2 teachers. So yeah, that always ends up being an issue.
Was this always a Gen Cyber camp?
No, it started out as a cyber discovery camp 4 years ago.
Right, so how did you then take Gen Cyber's kind of requirements, with the content that shows up, and either retro content or retrofit it into what you use?
So Gen Cyber has been very gracious in letting us offer our camp our way, but technically, yeah, it does miss some of the Gen Cyber things that we've been incrementally adding. For us, the most important thing is the experience that they get. And one of the things, and I hope there's no Gen Cyber person in this room, they are big about the 10 first principles of cybersecurity being the thing you teach these kids first thing. I don't think that's the thing that you want to teach kids to get this kind of inspiration. You're trying to inspire these kids, not teach them a bunch of stuff that they're like abstraction, minimization, simplicity. I mean, those are very abstract things that most kids are like, they'll not. So when we did the survey, we went, what was your favorite thing at camp? Definitely wasn't the 10 first principles, right? And you know, when you have an experience, you remember the things that are really positive, and then everything else is sort of like, I don't want to do that. I don't know a way to teach the 10 first principles in a way that will engage a student to want to pursue this career. That's my biggest issue with that. We do some 10 first principles stuff, and actually we've asked for help for our high school teachers. So high school teachers understand pedagogy. I don't. And so this is where we're like, hey, you know your curriculum project? In fact, we begged our teachers this time around. It's like we're getting slaughtered with these 10 first principles in our evaluations, the NSA evaluations. We're like, help us here. Like, teach this in a way, like, can you teach this in a way that actually will engage the students rather than turn them away? So it's a work in progress. And the NSA seems to be okay. I mean, they'll slaughter us every year, but they seem okay on this next year so far. So we'll see.
Yeah, because I actually hope there are Gen Cyber people here, because I don't think you're alone in those people.
Oh, okay, so you saw that too? Yeah. So, and then the other one I actually agree with is safe online behavior, which we don't do a lot of. Some of this spear phishing and fake news stuff is like that. We actually have them play a spear phishing game where you're supposed to, there's apps for both fake news detection and spear phishing. We had them design spear phishing emails, and then we had them work with that app to see if they themselves can detect fake news versus not fake news. So there's a little bit of that, but